Welcome to the Contract CFO Show, your source for bullshit-free, real talk on finance and business. Here's your host, Michael Anthony.
Welcome back to the Contract CFO Show, the #1 show for learning how to think like a boss and take control of your money. I am your host, Michael Anthony, and I help entrepreneurs discover their true self in order to create their ideal future. Today, we have a very special guest with us, Heather Parady. Heather is the host of a top-rated podcast and show, Unconventional Leaders, and also has a side project called Happy Brain. And you can check her out on iTunes. Are you on Spotify, Heather? Oh, what just happened?
Absolutely. We're everywhere. So.
Okay. YouTube and most of all, TikTok.
Yeah, definitely.
So Heather, it's great to have you on. And I gotta say personally, I'm really excited to have you on for a couple of reasons. And these might sound like goofy.
That accent, the Southern hair.
Yeah, no. Because you're a female. And
I noticed that.
Yes. And it is for me, I grew up with a very strong mother.
Good.
And I saw a lot of the challenges that she faced just day to day in life. And I love, look, I'm all for, dude, I'm a dude. I love dudes succeeding. I love people succeeding. And what I don't see is enough models out there, like role models out there for women to see, someone who is like them succeeding. And I just want to say, we're just meeting, but you kick ass. And I really genuinely, from the bottom of my heart, I appreciate who you are and what you do.
I really appreciate that. Thank you for saying it.
So, okay. So for those watching, you are a successful entrepreneur. You have, this podcast, you have a lot of followers on social media, and that you haven't been doing this your whole life though.
No. No, I mean, I've been trying to hustle people for a long time because I started a business at, I think 7. It was called the Spy Club. And I was putting up you could hire me as a spy and I would follow around anyone you wanted and write down everything that they were doing. It wasn't very successful. My grandmother bought a few spies, but my mother put a stop to it, which I had no idea why, because she said it wasn't the right thing to do. But I did have a business doing that. So
how old were you when you were rocking the Spy Club?
7.
That's pretty boss. That's pretty.
Yeah,
boss.
I was really wanting to pursue politics and be the president, but I had, knew that was a long ways away, so I went into spying.
I mean, you could spy on the president, right?
I don't want to.
You probably would have a better chance of spying on the president than becoming the president, though. If you think
watch
about
me. What that kind of see, you don't know me. You don't know me. That challenges me. I don't even like politics, but you said that. Here's Heather Parady running now.
I love it. So now how long have you been an entrepreneur in the vein? Because you help entrepreneurs craft their voice and just live an empowered life. Would you say that's accurate?
Sure. I would say full force, about 4 years now. I graduated with my degree in mental health counseling. I'd spent, several years in grad school and learning that world, and I really enjoyed it. But on the side, I had built a very successful, for my hometown, photography business where I was making more money than I was going to be making doing what I was going to school for.
Okay.
And I was like, okay, well, there's some, I really enjoyed this. I enjoyed not only, what I was doing, but I enjoyed building something. And I even had people in my cohort come to me and be like, why are you here? Why are you not out there building what you're supposed to be building? Because everybody knew it. but anyway, I graduated, got my license, got 2 different job offers, turned them both down, and decided just to go in all in on me and what I wanted to create in the world. So that was about, I'd say close to 4 years ago. But I've had part-time side hustles since I was a teenager.
Okay.
I mean, 7, obviously, but
you what?
I mean since 7, because Spy Club was pretty legit, but
that brings actually, all right. So the Spy Club thing, did you ever like buy any spy equipment?
I didn't need spy equipment. My eyes were like radars. Okay.
It just brings me back to, I don't know, probably like 10 years old. And this one Christmas, I would always ask for cash for Christmas from everyone. And then I'd go to the store and I'd buy what I wanted. And I bought all this spy equipment. Like it was at, Toys R Us or whatever. And so I wanted to be a spy, but.
Well, maybe you needed help, but my intuition and eyes just led me to where I needed to go. So.
Yep. So, okay. So you dedicated probably 6 years of your life to
even more because I had to go through developmental classes in a community college to catch up educationally, because I really struggled with education. So even longer than that.
And then at the end of that, you said deuces.
Yeah.
And do you have any, like, for some people watching this, they're going to relate with you on that.
A lot of people.
Yeah.
Because you don't really know what you want until you start doing it. And the education system is not set up to really, present what we're really doing day to day to us in school. And there's, I'm for education. It completely changed my life. But, we grow and we change as humans. And so to think that we're going to stay in one vein our entire lives, I think is, it's just not very compassionate for like a human species perspective. Like we've got to give ourselves a little bit more grace to evolve. What I will say is I think that the skill sets you learn in school, we think too narrowly about. And for a long time, I was like, oh my God, I've wasted X amount of years, X amount of dollars. We paid out of pocket for school. My husband and I sacrificed, lived below our means, were, to try not to have debt and all of that. So my family sacrificed. I spent tons of hours and I was like, here I am throwing all this away. But now looking back, I'm like, thank you, God, for that experience, because it trained me on how to ask hard questions. It trained me how to be comfortable in silence or with strangers. It taught me so many soft skills and things that I'm using in my business right now in the podcast, and has made me just a better human all the way around. So, cool. I'm not counseling like in a therapy session, but I'm a really good interviewer now, and I've got the best education on how to be.
Yeah, that's really fascinating. Where life, what I'm hearing you say is, in your life, you have an opportunity where you could have gotten bitter about it, you could have gotten jaded, and instead you said, hold up, this wasn't a traditional path. But this set me up for what I'm meant to do and who I'm meant to be.
Well, I got bitter and angry. I was like, I cried a lot and felt horrible and got mad, and I was embarrassed, really embarrassed, because I didn't want, here's all my cohort and they're building their own, clinics and all that. And here I am over, on TikTok and making podcasts and doing stupid crap on the internet. You know what I mean? So it was very humbling experience for sure.
So what was that conversation like with your husband? Like, were you guys married at the time? Like, throughout this, or did he come in, halfway through the situation, or what did?
No, we were married from the very beginning. I mean, I think he married me when I was still at community college going through developmental classes. So he saw me through the whole thing. I mean, he is the best, and I don't know how people do what we do without a supportive partner. I have no idea. And if you are that partner, know that, like, I was at a class the other day, and this woman, she just came to support her husband, and I pulled her aside and I was like, you are boss. Like, he's getting credit for stuff, but you're the one who chose to be a support and to be here and to be the behind the scenes person. And those people deserve all the street cred, all everything. Cause I mean, you know, like this is hard as hell. And we're
Yep.
already insecure and it's already intimidating, and having that pillar there of like somebody who's strong. I mean, granted, I mean, we've had problems and but he's been phenomenal. I mean, he's the one who encouraged me because I got the job offer and they're like, you got the job. And I called Brian. I'm like, I got the job. But he's like, most people don't cry, when they get job offers. Like the fact you're crying over this, Heather, go do what you want to do. So he's the one who really encouraged that.
That belief, having the belief of someone like that to encourage you is priceless. And I'm in the same situation with my wife and I. We are in life together, and that goes far beyond just business. And so for those of you watching, those of you listening, man, look, if you're just hooking up with someone, think about that. Like, think about it, define it. Are you hooking up? Are you in it for a long term? And if it's a long term, are they going to help pull you up? And are you going to be able to help pull them up?
Yep.
To where it's a 1 + 1 = 3.
Yep.
Or I like to say 1 + 1 = 5. when you're really firing.
And I would say pay really close attention to when you are insecure and when you're having a really hard time. How does that partner respond? Because when you have friends, spouses, whoever, when they go down into that place with you and help and like are cool with you compromising, like, yeah, maybe it is too much, Michael. Yeah, maybe Michael, you are being too hard on yourself. Oh, Michael, it's not a big deal. You can try something different. The way they respond in that, no, you want a warrior standing beside you and being like, Michael, get off your ass. Yep. You've more in you than this. Fight. I'm not going to let you give up.
Yep.
Right? You need that kind of person in your life.
Yes. Yeah. Where it's like, get off your fucking ass and make some shit happen. Yes. You have greatness in you, and you're pissing your life away.
Yeah.
You can do that, but I'm not going to sit here and let you believe, it's okay.
That's your person. When somebody says that, that's your person.
Yeah. Yeah. And there's a lot to be said about that in today's dynamics of, feeling, just being so insecure and positioning a life that appears, fancy. We see that. I see that at least I mean, get on Instagram and, everyone's flossing like, they talk about, when I'm a millionaire and they have like a Lamborghini and a mansion. And I'm like, that's not that is not a millionaire. Yeah. Like, that tells me you don't know anything about money. People pretend. Word. They try to project this life when really inside it's something completely different, rather than, owning who they are inside. And okay, so you have a degree in mental health. Maybe could you talk a little bit about that and how through your mind you see that playing out in society and as business owners,
the drive and the need to be successful in other people's eyes.
Yeah.
Well, I think ultimately it's boring. It's a boring conversation to have, and it takes out all of our potential. You know what I mean? Like, cool, let's make money. Cool, let's go on vacation. Awesome. But is that all you are, Michael? Is that what your soul is about? Is that what you were created and designed and put on this earth to do? Is to spend money? So the reason,
Heather.
No. The reason we have, so many, mental health issues and self-esteem issues and all of that is we have cheapened our existence to things that weren't meant to satisfy and define our lives. They're important. I love going on vacation. And I'm so grateful. Thank you, God, that I don't have to worry about feeding my girls. You know what I mean? Like, I'm so grateful for that. I'm not coming down on money. Like, I want to make money and I want to be able to build awesome things, but I know I am meant for something so much deeper and more. And I think the conversation needs to steer towards contribution and what we want to create with the resources we have, whether that's $20 million or whether it's $20. You know what I mean? And so it's just a boring conversation. Cool, scalability, drive leads into your funnel and close. Cool. Any Janet, Jackie can figure out how to do that, right? But can we start talking about something that has a little bit more substance to it? And again, I don't mean to cheapen the conversation around money. I know that's, what your show's primarily about. But I think for us to stay sustainable long term, there has to be a thread of contribution in there and something more meaningful than just making money.
Yeah. And I would say that the show is a little deceptive in the name of the Contract CFO show, in the sense of the main reason I started this is because the conversations I would have with the clients of mine were on a different level. It's like, yeah, the money is the fruit of aspects, but we were dealing with the roots.
Come on.
And so that's where this show is actually about, talking about the roots in our lives, in our culture, and dealing with getting those things right. Because even at the end of the day, like, in this sounds bougie, this sounds, bullshit, and it's real, because I grew up in around extreme poverty. And so for me, I had a goal of, money was a way to bring control in my life when everything else around me, emotionally, relationally, and materially, were so unstable. I saw, okay, if I can get money, I can control some things in my life and bring some peace. And so that was my initial pursuit of it. But then what I realized is I had achieved, quote unquote, success in what I had as a child deemed success, which was, I wanted to become a VP and I wanted to earn 6 figures a year. And I was never more miserable inside, because I realized that wasn't the purpose of life.
Hey guys, Michael Anthony here, and I have a question for you. Are you out of work or unhappy with your career? Are you tired of your boss giving you crappy raises? How about not being able to provide the life you want for you or your loved ones? Do you earn great money, but you're just tired of being someone else's bitch? If so, I invite you to visit workwithsymmetry.com/change to learn about the career that forever transformed the trajectory of my life. And it could change yours too. Like I said, this career isn't for everyone. But if you're unhappy where you're at, I encourage you to go to workwithsymmetry.com/change and take control of your life.
What is the purpose of life?
To me, the purpose of life is living out our fulfillment. It's finding who we are meant to be, and being that, bringing that passion. To me, it's bringing that passion and impacting the world with the fullness of who you are. I call it your nest. It's like you have a nest, Heather, that no one else has. And so if you're trying to fit in, if you're trying to, do what everyone else does, and sure, maybe there's times out of necessity where, we do that because we have to pay our bills or whatever it is. Yet we don't lose focus of, I wasn't put here to work this job. I was put here to let the gifts that are in me out. And to touch and impact those and those people around me in my sphere. And that can be the sphere of, my children and my spouse and my neighbor, and nothing beyond that. And that's okay. That's okay. Because the way we do one thing, we do everything.
Yeah.
So what would you say? What's the purpose of life?
I'm trying to figure that out. I don't know. I have no idea.
Up to this point.
I feel like, I don't know. I feel like everything, it's funny. I always tell this story because it's a great analogy for growing up, I guess. But I remember the very first day of graduate school, my professor was like, come in and I want you to write a paper on the human condition and why people are the way they are, and where, sickness, mental illness come from and all that. And I was like, I'm on it. And I went home and I wrote that paper, and it was long as hell. I had diagrams. I drew pictures. Like, I knew why people were the way they were and where, dysfunction comes from and all that. Years later, when the program was over, he came back and he said, all right, I want you to write a paper on your view on the human condition, why we are the way we are, or whatever. And I just was like, I don't know. And I literally couldn't write a word. It was a short ass paper. And pretty much the whole idea was like, I literally have no clue. And I feel like the older I'm getting and the more I'm like reading and learning, I'm just completely lost. I don't know. I don't know. And I think I'm returning as of late to I'm really getting interested in joy and creativity and play and flow and some of these, things that aren't really talked about a lot in entrepreneurship. I see, maybe I've created this divide in my own mind. I don't know, but I've kind of camped out, you have the entrepreneurial badass, I'm going to get up at 4 a.m. We're going to do 75 hard, blah, 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 live like nobody else, blah, nobody else, you know what I mean? And like, no excuses and lions and all this stuff. And I can get down with that. Like, I really love that. But then also too, there's like this, let's smoke a pipe and like creativity and intuition and I'm kind of annoyed with both camps where I'm like, can we please meet in the middle and like honor and respect that we need to bust our ass sometimes, but then also to honor and respect that there's something greater than us orchestrating all this. And I don't care what you believe, universe, God, whatever, there's some cosmic force that if we tap into, our work's going to become more meaningful. We're not going to be able to have to strain so much. We'll get these awesome downloads and ideas when we're not even trying. And so I'm really, what is the purpose of life right now? I feel like it's to kind of return back to that wonder, all while to remaining faithful to with the tools that are in your hand. And so it's like this weird yin yang balance, I guess. Maybe balance is the purpose. I don't know, but I don't like the word balance either, because it's usually people's excuse to be lazy too.
Yes, it is. Yes, it is. And that actually is fascinating. You bring that word up because I wanted to get your approach to, people talk about, balance, and I need to balance. And I have a strong opinion on it, but I would love to hear yours.
Give me more context, because I could go a million directions with that.
Life balance. Let's talk just life balance. You coach people, and I'm sure you hear people talk about, I need balance in my life. I need balance in my life.
Yeah.
What is your gut response to that?
I think we need to be more honest with what we want.
Poo poo. Yes.
And I mean this in the most respectful way. And it is fine if you don't want to have a super successful business. It is fine if you don't want you to be a name in the podcasting space. It is fine if you don't really want some of these things, but let's just be honest about it, that's not a priority. Because if you really want it, you're not going to be fighting for and being upset about having to give up some of these other things and crying and moaning about it. It's going to be exciting to you and an honor to you. I get burnout. I love my children. I do enjoy margaritas at the beach with my husband. But on Saturdays and Sundays, I'm working. I'm still busting my ass on stuff. I'm still working more than most people think is good. And I get so much judgment and a lot of hate, especially being a woman, Michael. Don't even get me started on this, because it's
let's start on that.
Because it's like, well, you're a mom, you're this, you're that. And I'm like, and you? What are, you know what I mean? Like, are you a parent too? Like, what's the difference there? So I think there's a perception that I'm supposed to move in this world a little bit differently, and it's not okay. But I think all of us hard workers get that. But I will fight for and say that my best ideas have come when I'm out there running down the road. I'm a runner, and God will just give me something. I'm like, oh man. But I'm not sure that would still come without me busting my ass in the other dimension, you know what I'm trying to say.
Yeah, the other aspect of
the other
of life.
aspect. So I think, to answer your question, it's really being honest with what you want and just owning it and being cool with it. But also too, don't give other people hell that they want something different than what you want, because we want people to operate like we operate. Like, I work a lot. It's not hard for me. I'm very boom, 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 boom. And I could, put other pressure on people that that's what they should be, and vice versa. So do you. What do you want? What makes you happy?
Yeah.
That's it.
Yeah, that's so good. So yeah, I'd love feedback on like your thoughts on this. My gut response when people say I want balance, my philosophy is more at this point, life is less about balance and it's more about focus. And it's just, well, it's life isn't balanced. Maybe in the scope of life there's balance, but not in the day to day.
Sure.
Like in the day to day, I'm not going to have 1/3 with family and 1/3 with work and 1/3
not
for
if you
me
want
or
big
whatever.
results.
Not exactly. And so with that, it's okay, what am I intentionally focused on? And so like in part of what's driven that for me as a reality is in my dynamic in life is, so I've married a very strong-willed and kick-ass woman.
Good.
Who we have businesses together, and there are ebbs and flows to where when the kids were younger, she was like the parent at home, and then would side hustle, business, and I was more driving. As the kids have gotten older, I'm more the parent at home, and she's more the day-to-day, which actually brings about that opposite of what you were talking, about as a female. It's like, I've heard chauvinistic bullshit come out of some of my best friends' mouths.
Don't even get me
talking about, like, oh, the guy's not providing for, and I'm like, number one, you do realize you're talking to me about that, about some other dude. And I'm like, I'm the one who cooks the meals. I'm the one who's home when the kids are home, that sort of thing. And becoming okay with it's focus. It's, hey, for this season, my business, like the Michael Anthony stuff, isn't going to grow as exponentially because I'm choosing for some of our other businesses to grow faster and me to be home and to just be okay with that.
And that's confidence.
Oh yeah.
It is, because you're confident enough in yourself to be like, you know what? I don't need to prove anything to Paul over here.
Okay.
You know what I mean? I know what I'm doing, and this is what's working out for me and my family. And my husband's the same way. He is freaking badass, dude. Like, he's so awesome. He's built his own business. You say I have TikTok. Brian, it kills it. Okay. He's amazing. But you know what? He's not too weird to go, like, hey, I'm doing dinner. He does grocery shopping. He's the clean person. He's always cleaning and stuff. I mean, like, he helps so much. And that's not the traditional role. And we've gotten the same crap about it. But you know what? We got the same bank account going on right now, and we both are fond with it. So whatever.
Yeah. Yeah. And I'd love to say, I mean, yes, there is confidence. There absolutely is confidence there. And there's still, I think anyone in that situation, like, you go through those moments where you're a lot stronger, and then you go through moments of, where it's like, oh, am I doing the right thing? Or, oh, I could go kick ass and, whatever. And that's just part of the human condition.
Even when you're in the game, you think that. I mean, like, even when you're busting your ass on Michael Anthony, I'm sure that there's times where you're like, what the hell am I doing? Is this working? I mean, I think I go through that about every 30 days.
Yeah.
Sure.
Yeah. So what do you do? Because that is entrepreneurship. Second guessing ourselves, and just what are some tips or tricks, some hacks? That's the sexy phrase, hacks, to get yourself back in a place of strength when you're questioning yourself.
I don't have any tips, tricks, or hacks, because if you don't want it, you're not going to be able to do it. Period.
So
you have to want it. That's it.
So it's, if you don't quit, you win.
That's it. That's literally, I am convinced 100% that it's not the smartest, hottest, whatever. It's the ballsiest person who literally just won't stop and is stupid enough and dumb enough and crazy enough to just like hang in. Like literally, I genuinely believe it's all there is to it. Even in like other industries, like actors and singers and all that. I mean, like you always like, that person kind of sucks. Like, why are they so famous? It's because, I mean, it could be a lot of different reasons,
Well,
but I think
yes, there could be.
I think, you know, it's a business too. And I think there's something to be said for just like grinding it, dude.
Yeah.
So I
Showing
mean, I'm
up.
sorry. I wish there was like a hack or trick, but I think too many people are looking for hacks and tricks. We need to return back to, again, really, what do you want? Because nobody's going to convince me to not feed my kids or to cheat on my husband or, you know, go shave my head or, you know what I mean? Like, I don't want to do
Brittany.
any of that. I don't
Yeah.
want to, you know what I mean? And if I need a trick or a hack to keep myself from doing some of those things that are my value system and what I really want in my life, you know what I mean? Then I don't really want it and I'm not gonna be able to make it anyway.
Well, okay. Let me ask that. Let's dig into that for a second, because coming from the mental health field,
I told you I'm different though.
yeah,
I
but
said
this
that when we
is-
started.
yes, and this is where good conversation occurs, in my opinion. So, what's your take and your approach on incongruencies in people, where you know they're wanting two seemingly opposing things?
Give me an example.
I want to become I want to become a successful business owner,
Mm-hmm.
and by successful I mean money.
Uh-huh.
So I want to have money and own my own business,
Okay.
and I believe, because of maybe actually this was a client of mine that dealt with this, where their father, I believe it was, ended up leaving their mom,
Mm-hmm.
started a business and became super successful, but they were hurt by that because they didn't get any of the success. So inside them there was this fear of, I'm going to destroy my family if I become successful, because that's what happened to my dad. My dad did that.
Mm-hmm.
And so, you know, successful business person equaled ruining my family, and it also equaled what I want to do for my family because I believe in it. And so there were these two opposing.
I don't think that's incongruence, because those are, you know, deep down their desire is to be successful. What the problem is, there is an unhealthy narrative around the path it would take to get there. And so what they would need to do is start challenging how they believe you came about success. Because from what I'm hearing you say is, you're saying that the desire to be successful is there.
Yes.
But the issue, the friction, is the narrative around the ladder and the path and the road that leads to that. So
Yes.
there's one path there, become successful, but we've got to rethink that road and rebuild that story. And there's a whole bunch of different techniques and things you can go through. But I think first acknowledging that we are all perceiving, and this is another reason I was so grateful for my time, even though I never did anything with it.
You do stuff with it every
you know what
day.
I mean? You know what I mean? You know what I mean? But like the understanding of how powerful narrative is in world experience, like you've seen me and my personality and all that through the lens of every person you've met before and the way that you grew up and your beliefs about God or no God or whatever, and vice versa. I'm seeing you through my lens of growing up in Arkansas and parents divorced at 12 and, you know what I mean, like country town and all that stuff. And I see you in that way. And so it's like, where's the truth in that? There is really no truth. There's just perception experience, and there's two completely different worlds there. And so understanding that, not only from relating to you, but also to understanding myself, that what I'm thinking and believing is my own narrative and it's not necessarily the truth. It's super hard to get to that point, but just first becoming aware and then doing some, you know, behind the scenes work on our neurological connections and stuff
the
like
pathways.
that. The pathway, yeah. Which, side note, totally random. I learned through Happy Brain the other day that we don't just have neurological connection. You may have known this, but neurological connections in our brain. We also have neurological connections in our heart, and our hearts connections can reroute and create different pathways in our heart as well.
So okay.
Is that not
Unpack that
nuts?
for a second, because are you saying, okay, where I'm going with this is like, okay, I've studied and I've heard as far as like our gut is, they call it the second brain.
Yup.
And it's actually, they think a lot stronger than, our traditional brain. It has more influence
That's nuts.
over our body. So are you talking about our heart also
Bum, bum,
having
bum, bum.
like thought, like controlling aspects of our?
Yeah, I know so little about this, so
Okay.
people need to Google and learn about it. But
Yeah.
I had on a lady who was teaching heart math and like had the connection between the heart and the brain, and she said that there's neurological connections in our heart that can reshape and rewire too. So anyway, I have no idea where I pulled that out of my ass, but
No, that's great though.
I thought
but
it was super interesting.
That's where, even, it talks like, a broken spirit, can't, like, nothing can, take down a strong spirit.
Yeah.
And, a broken spirit, like, you see people when their heart is just crushed. Sometimes like with older couples that have been together for a long time, and one spouse will die and the other one doesn't, like, their heart, they're just like, I'm done.
Yeah.
And they end up going, quickly.
There's also too so much hope in that because, there are people in the field of psychology who like things are permanent. We just got to learn how to cope with things. I believe, you call me crazy all day long. I believe in hope. I believe in healing. I believe we can change. I believe that, we are not a victim to our circumstances and that God can just completely knock us off our feet and wreck our lives in all the best ways.
Yes.
And hearing that, these neurons and science is showing us that things can reroute means I am not stuck in my trauma. I am not stuck in my belief that I can only be successful if I ruin my family, and all that crap can change. We don't have to stay stuck there.
Yeah, that's so good. I've even been reading about like DNA and the amount of, for at least like myself growing up, DNA was this, and when they were, mapping the human genome, it was like this, computer program that was, you couldn't change it. And for me, I remember even having a conversation with a coworker, 25 years ago or something like that. And I was like, I really believe, I'm pretty sure we can change our DNA. I was like, I don't have any proof on this, but I just believe that, like, I'm not stuck with who I am. I can become a better version of myself, and that can translate into my DNA. And what they're finding is that DNA can, it does, and from generation to generation, like there's things passed down, and even emotions of one generation influences the DNA, and it passes down, which is where it can be like, depression could run in a family, or happiness can run in a family. It
Poverty.
Yes.
Mindset.
Yes. It all, and it can get passed down, but just because it was passed down doesn't mean it has to stay that way. Amen. Because a little by little, sometimes traumatic experiences, sometimes just gradual things shift. And so, that's where, like, for me, and I hear this in you, and for those of you watching, like, you can be the change.
Yes.
You can be the change. If you don't like something, change it. Take power over it and put in the work. It's not easy always. It's definitely not always easy, but it's always worth it.
If you want it. If you want it, right?
How bad do you want it?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's so good. So speaking of wanting it, your podcast, Unconventional Leaders, you started this after doing a 180, on your career trajectory. And if you could walk us through kind of maybe those early days, for people watching and listening.
Do I have to recap that? Yeah. So really, I just didn't see, I was interested in leadership. I was interested in all this stuff, but I didn't see myself represented in that landscape. I saw a lot of, no offense to middle-aged corporate white dudes, but it was all middle-aged corporate white dudes talking about leadership. And that's who I get DM'd with all the time. Can I come on your show? Can I talk about the pillars of leadership in a boardroom? And I'm like, no, you cannot, because that's not my personality. You know what I mean?
Can I take a nap while you teach those and just come back?
Like I mean, I didn't see a lot of women, and a lot of the women were like talking to women and had pink podcasts.
Yes.
Cool, but that's not me. I'm not gonna, I want to talk to men too, and I'm confident to do that and all that. So I just wanted to create what I didn't see, which was outside of the box, unconventional leaders, people who are tattooed up and, you know, painting murals, but have an awesome story of how they completely kicked ass and turned the narrative of their family story and made great money and now is helping orphans. You know what I mean? Like some really cool people. So anyway, I was like, I want to do that. But oh my God, I don't even have an iTunes account. Like, how am I supposed to do this? But I'm nuts. So I literally went to Walmart, bought like a $9 headset, Googled, how do I start a podcast? Followed it. Side note, people, anything you want to do, Google it. And it's on YouTube. Just went through the steps, had a show launch like 2 days later. It was terrible. And it's just been a hell of a ride, and I'm nowhere near where I want to be still. I'm 4 years in, and I'm proud of what I've created, but I still think all the time, like, my God, I wish I was so much further and all that. But I will go down trying as a little old lady in a nursing home with a microphone, and it's fine if it never happens, but I'm not going to quit. Not going to. And so it's been an honor to hear so many freaking stories, and we're about to hit 500 episodes of that show. I'm just like, you know, we are all the same. Nobody's better than anybody else. They really aren't. They just, some have, like I said, more balls than the next. And I've really got to think of a better term than balls, because I don't want to, like, you know, we don't have balls as women, but you know what I mean?
I feel, I don't know. I personally, like, that's something dudes use that phrase all the time.
I'm not offended by it. I don't know.
I like it. I like it. I personally like it when women say it as well, because it's like you're taking what's been a traditional male bravado and you're using it in the context of, like, look, anyone can have balls.
It freaks my husband out though.
Oh,
because I'll do something awesome and I'm like, yeah, I got some balls. And he's like, we stop saying that. That's so unattractive.
Well, then in that case, yes, maybe come up with something else. With that. So you've on your journey though, with this podcast, you've landed some larger name guests.
Can you still hear me?
I can. Can you hear
sorry,
me?
I thought my mic went out.
Okay. You're all good.
Speaking of professional podcaster.
Hey, that's yesterday I was on something and my mic went out once, and then when I restarted it, actually I was sounding like a Darth Vader-ish thing.
Yeah,
everyone thought tech happens.
Yeah.
So, you know, with your show, you know, you said your first episode, it sucked. I'm saying it, you know, you were like, it was horrible.
Sure.
I think that was your phrase.
Sure.
It was horrible. And yet most people would get stuck in the land of seeking perfect, or the land of seeking better. You know, better. I'm not going to launch this until like there was a guy that actually he's a high professional in his area. He also had, like, I was over working with him on some things, and he had like 50 podcasts.
So I hate
that he had recorded.
It annoys me so bad.
And I was like, why don't, this was back when I was like he has a studio and stuff. So we were recording some things for, you know, the intro and stuff like that. And he was like, I was like, why don't you have these out? And he was like, well, we're still getting better. And I'm like, dude, this is a waste. Like there's a gift in there. If nothing else, it's a gift of you just having the discipline of launching.
Yup.
And putting it out there. And if only one person ever got impacted by one thing you said, to me, like, that's worth it.
Yeah.
But a lot of people feel stuck. And so what was going on in your mind to where you were able you chose to step out of your comfort zone and do something that I'm guessing you probably felt somewhat embarrassed about, when it launched. And yet you still did it.
Plus years later, yes.
Yeah.
I want it more than that guy, period. I want to make something awesome. And I don't know. I don't really, I want to say I don't struggle with perfectionism. I don't get it, because it's like, what do you really want? And I'm sorry I keep going back to that, but I think it's just people have got to be honest with themselves, because if you really wanted to create something, there's nothing that's going to be able to keep you from making it. Right. And we've got to be honest. Like, this whole perfectionism bullcrap thing is so selfish. Like, we're like, I want to help people. I'm about helping people. No, you're not. You're about wanting to look like balling at people. You want other people to think you're cool and you're awesome and you're perfect. Does that help people? No. Yeah. What helps people is when Michael comes in and be like, you know what? I had a crappy day, but I showed up today. When Heather says, you know what? Here's me with no makeup and I feel, like bleh today. This thing sucked and my mic came loose and all that. You know why? It helps them because it says, you know what? If they're showing up imperfectly, I can do it too. See, I can't even say that word. I just fumbled in my sentence and I don't care. You know what I mean? Yeah. So this whole perfectionism thing is so, I don't mean this like in a mean way, but we have to be honest. It's a selfish pursuit because we're making it all about us and how we're perceived and if we're loved and if we're validated. And let's get back to psychology there. It's the human need is belonging and love. And when your belonging and your love comes from another source, that user 56329, it doesn't matter what he says about me. I know who God says I am. My husband loves me and my children love me and I like me. That's all that ultimately matters in the end. And yeah, it's going to make me cry a little bit sometimes, but it's not going to keep me off the horse. You know what I'm saying? So I'm getting upset and sweating.
It's very powerful. And that's the core. I personally believe that's the core of what we're talking about is self-love. Like loving ourselves, accepting our imperfections. Because if we, going back to, I think earlier you were talking about, like a childlike, view of the world and, children. I remember my daughter, man, when she was little, she'd go out. It didn't matter where we were. If she heard a song she liked, she just freaking
sang
dance.
On top of her lungs. Yeah.
She'd just dance. She'd dance to it. And somewhere along the lines, we learn, care about what other people think and don't be you. And in doing so, there's brilliance, there's gifts that are missed out on
for sure
in life, both for us as the experiencing it. I get crap a lot, and I'm in my head as much as the next person, over
so
stuff. And I just do goofy shit. I just legitimately do. And I've learned to just, to some degree, churn off the giving a damn. It's like if there were switches or whatever, with that, to just, because there's a gift found in not caring, in giving up, when, for example, this show right here, I was scared. Because this is the first show I've had with someone who I knew them in a 0, on a scale of, 1 to whatever. I knew you on a 0. And so it was just out of my comfort zone.
You've never interviewed anybody you don't know?
No.
Oh my God. I feel like I talk to people I don't know more than people I do.
Well, here's the thing. I actually do all the time in other areas.
It's not on the show.
But not on the Contract CFO show. And so it was just one of those where before we recorded this, I actually recorded something for, on social of just being real. Cause back to what you were saying of being real, where I was like, look, guys, I'm scared. Like I'm out of my comfort zone, with that. And so I just appreciate Heather. I appreciate you. I know you got to get going. And so I just want to say, I appreciate everything you do.
Thanks.
To make a difference and make an impact in this world. Your TikTok channel puts a lot of smiles on millions of people's faces.
I appreciate that.
And you do much deeper work. You do much deeper work than
That's
that.
the work I like the most. Isn't that weird? You do all this deep work, but then you get on TikTok and I'm like, this is me.
You know what, though? I don't know that there's deeper work than joy.
Don't even get me started. We'll be talking here for another hour.
Well,
Yeah.
I'll just take that opportunity to say I'd love to have you back sometime.
Well, this has been, I appreciate you saying all this, but this has been one of the very best interviews I've done in a very long time, being a guest on somebody. So this is your lane for sure. This is really, really good.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you. Well, have a kick-ass day.
Thanks.
And for those of you that, if like it, drop some comments below, let Heather know, show some love, thumb it, like it, share it. And most of all, keep kicking ass in your life. Take ownership.
Right.
No one is going to care more about you and your life than you.
Word.
And if someone else does, that says something. So make the change, be the change. Till next time. Peace.
That's a wrap. Congrats on investing in yourself with the Contract CFO Show, hosted by Michael Anthony. If you've enjoyed today's show, please leave a comment and tell a friend to check it out on YouTube or however they get their podcast on. Follow us on Facebook and Instagram at Michael Anthony TV. Visit michaelanthonytv.com to find show notes and past episodes. Plus, you can join the conversation by submitting questions and topics you want to hear. And remember, tomorrow can be better than today. The choice is yours. P.S. Don't be a dumbass. Remember, this is a conversation and not meant to be personal or legal advice.